some facts about SQL. I'm going to create this PowerPoint for you, and I'm going to name it SQL and share it with you. Now, SQL is an acronym which stands for Structured Query Language. And although it's got the term language in it, it is not a language that you've used or known before. So if you're used to Python, where you've got while loops, for loops, if statements, it has none of that in it. It is something called a fourth generation language. If only I could spell it, would be good. A fourth generation language. And although I call it SQL, a lot of people, or when you're talking to anybody, you might see it referred to as something called SQL. So what is it? What does it do? Basically, the internet and your phones are completely governed by structured query language, SQL. Just about everything on the internet that you use is powered by SQL, and so is your phone. So for example, on your phone, let me see if I've got an example down here. Let's just see if I can start a simulator. Whoops. There we go, we've got a simulator of the phone. Let's go to the home page. And on your home page, you should have a contacts list. And this is just a database of contacts. And if I click on a contact, I can see some details such as their mobile number, their home number, their work email address, their actual home location, when their birthday is. All of this information is stored in a database. Now, the phone doesn't use SQL, it uses something called SQL02, a cut down version of SQL. But nevertheless, it's still powered by SQL. And pretty much everything on the internet is also powered by SQL. So when you fill in forms or do anything, even this is a database. So if I want to go and find my files, I can perform a search and find the files I'm looking at, because these are stored in a database, and the chances are it's a SQL database. Now, what I am going to give you is a couple of links where you can actually try it out yourself. So W3 Schools has got an editor where you can type in SQL statements, press the run SQL, and it will work. I'm also going to show you PHP MyAdmin, which we've used before, and how to create a table and run our SQL statements. So these are the two items that you will be using to perform your SQL statements. Now, what is SQL? Basically, it is nothing more than storing tables, and I'll come to that in the next video, what a table is, how to generate them. And all we're going to do with those tables contain information, they contain data which is saved, and when it is saved we call it persistent. That means it is saved forever, or until you decide you don't want it anymore. But basically what I mean by that is that you can save your data, you can turn your computer off, you can come back to it, and your data hasn't been lost. At the moment we've written programs where maybe your program's asked for a person's name, we've run the program, it's done its job, but when you stop, turn off your computer, it hasn't remembered that name at all. You have to run your program and put it in again. So persistent means it's saved forever. Now, the reason why I'm looking at PHP MyAdmin and the Try Editor, which pretty much are identical. It's just a difference in the way that you see things. Is that the try editor is not really persistent. It's only persistent or only stays there while the browser windows are open. It's just there for you to play around with things. But if you expect to do a lot of work, then it's going to get lost every time you turn your computer off and back on again. Whereas if you did it in phpMyAdmin, which you don't have access to, it would be there for all time. But these two things are pretty much the same thing. It's just a different user interface on how to use it. However, what we do with it will be identical. It will just look different. But the try it editor is not persistent. So if you've only got 10 minutes left of the lesson and you start putting together all of your work in here, you're going to be moving on to your next lesson and you're going to lose your work. So it's not a good idea to sort of do this at the end of the lesson. It's something that you need to do at the start. phpMyAdmin, unfortunately, you don't have any more access to. If you're at home, you could download programs that are given in the actual slides from the exam board, and you might be able to download these programs and try them out yourself, but I'm not going to support them. I'm not going to show you how to use them too much. Maybe at the end I might produce a video if we can download it, but it's pointless if you don't download it. So if you're not going to use it, then it's a waste of time looking at it. I'm not going to write in Python either. I will give some examples in Python if you are interested only. If you're not interested in playing around with Python or learning how to do it in Python, then you can just ignore it completely. We will just use this try it editor. But you've got to remember, when I say the word persistent, saved forever, actually in the try it editor, it's not. It's only there. It's called a session. So while you are logged in, while you're there today and you don't close your browser, it will be available for you. However, if you close it down and come back to it, then all of your information will be lost. So it's not persistent in that respect. It's only because it's open to the entire world to play with, and if everybody typed in their stuff, then it would overwhelm their servers and they would probably end up crashing. So it's just there for you to play with. So structured query language, 4th generation, called SQL. It's based around tables, which I shall have a look at next. It's persistent, saved forever. It's also known as a database query language. And that's the important word there, query. We're going to ask questions. In other words, we're going to try and find out what is in the table and report it back. Usually, if you want to see results, or if we go back to the phone, if I can get that simulator up and running again, I'm going to have to run it again. If you have the simulator, let's go back to the contacts list. All of this information is in a database, but the way the information is presented to you is done via a programming language like Python. So here we just see a list of names who are in the database. If we click on a name, we see further information about the person that is in that database, which it could be an image, it could be a map, it could be a lot of information. But this is controlled by a program. The program, like Python, talks to the database to find the information. The information is stored in a table. So on the next video, we're going to have a look at what a table is and what it means and how we can build one.